This episode teaches you one of the most important skills in both life and communication: how to control your reactions before they control your words. Because the truth is simple: your reaction creates your communication. Your communication creates your relationships. Your relationships create your life. If you can control the first part, your reactions, you can control everything that comes after. Rule 1: pause before you react, the second that saves your life. The first rule of mastering your reactions is learning to create a small, invisible moment of stillness between what happens to you and how you respond. Most people live their entire lives in automatic mode. They hear something, they feel something, and they react immediately, without awareness, without control, and without intention. And that's why they stay trapped in emotional chaos. But the moment you learn to pause, even for 1 second, you take back control of your life. That 1 second becomes the difference between exploding and staying calm, between ruining relationships and strengthening them, between saying something you regret and saying something you're proud of. This pause is not weakness. It is absolute power. It is the sign that your mind belongs to you, not to your anger, not to your insecurities, not to your past hurts. When you pause, you give your brain a chance to choose the response that matches your values instead of your emotions. You allow your intelligence to speak louder than your impulses. You create space for wisdom to enter. And in that space, you transform from someone who is controlled by life into someone who directs life. This rule teaches you that emotional maturity doesn't come from suppressing your feelings. It comes from mastering the space between the feeling and the action. And the more you strengthen this pause, the more you will watch your relationships improve, your communication elevate, and your confidence rise. Because the person who can pause before reacting becomes unstoppable. They no longer break under pressure, no longer overreact to small things, and no longer let temporary emotions create permanent damage. You become the calm force in a chaotic world. You become someone others trust. You become someone you trust. That is the power of Rule 1. Rule 2: listen more than you speak. Understanding before responding. One of the greatest secrets to speaking better is learning to listen with full awareness, not just with your ears, but with your whole presence. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. They are already preparing their answer in their mind while the other person is still speaking. And because of that, they misunderstand, they misjudge, and they overreact. But when you master the art of listening, your communication transforms completely. Listening is not silence. Listening is intelligence. It is studying the tone, the emotion, the intention behind the words. It is giving your mind time to process what is happening instead of rushing into assumptions. Listening slows down your emotional reaction and sharpens your mental clarity. It allows you to see the real meaning behind someone's words, not just the surface. Sometimes people express anger when they are actually hurt. Sometimes they speak loudly because they feel invisible. Sometimes they argue because they want to feel understood. If you don't listen deeply, you will fight with the wrong problem. But when you truly listen, your response becomes wiser, calmer, and more effective. You stop reacting to emotions and start responding to needs. Your words become more accurate, your timing becomes better, and your presence becomes stronger. Listening also has another hidden power: it earns respect. People instinctively trust those who listen, because listening shows maturity, self-control, and emotional stability. It shows that you don't need to dominate the conversation to feel powerful. Instead, your power comes from understanding, from awareness, from reading the situation clearly before saying anything. And once you have understood fully, your words will be sharper, kinder, and more meaningful. This rule teaches you that speaking well doesn't start with the mouth. It starts with the mind. It starts with observing, absorbing, and analyzing before saying a single word. The better you listen, the better you speak. And the person who listens deeply becomes the person everyone values, respects, and remembers. Rule 3: control your emotions before you use your words. One of the biggest reasons people say things they regret is because they allow their emotions to speak instead of their mind. When you are angry, your tongue becomes sharp. When you are stressed, your words become careless. When you feel insecure, your voice becomes defensive. And when you feel attacked, your instinct is to attack back. But none of these reactions come from intelligence. They come from temporary emotions. And temporary emotions often create permanent damage. Mastering good communication starts with mastering emotional regulation. Before you speak, you must learn to calm the storm inside you. You must learn to pause, breathe, observe, and allow the emotional wave to settle before the words leave your mouth. Because emotions can create noise, confusion, and distortion. They make small issues look big, simple conversations feel heavy, and harmless comments sound like threats. When you speak while emotional, you are not speaking from truth, you are speaking from pain. That is why the strongest people in the world are not the ones who speak the loudest. They are the ones who keep control of themselves when strong emotions rise. Emotion control does not mean you suppress your feelings. It means you give your mind enough space to process them before you express them. It means you develop the discipline to hold your tongue for a moment. Not forever, just long enough for your logic to catch up. It means understanding that anger wants immediate release, but wisdom wants clarity. It means you choose the long-term outcome over the short-term emotional satisfaction. Because once words are spoken, you cannot take them back. They can forgive you, yes, but they will not forget how you made them feel. Mastering this rule also helps you avoid unnecessary conflict. You begin to notice when someone is emotional, and instead of joining their fire, you remain the calm in the room. Your emotions no longer control your reactions, you control the direction of the conversation. You become steady, grounded, and reliable. People feel safer around you. They trust your presence. They see you as someone who brings clarity, not chaos. This emotional discipline makes your communication more powerful. When you speak, your words are stable, precise, and intentional. You become the person who never needs to raise their voice to be heard, because your calmness speaks louder than anger ever could. And once you learn to master your emotions, your words stop destroying things and start building relationships, opportunities, and respect. Rule 4. Listen fully before you respond. Listening is not just waiting for your turn to speak. Listening is not pretending to pay attention while your mind is already building a response. Listening is not hearing words. It is understanding the meaning behind them. Most people don't actually listen. They just wait. They wait to defend themselves, to prove a point, to correct someone, or to speak about their own feelings. But true communication only begins when one person talks and the other person truly listens with intention. When you learn to listen fully before you respond, you transform the entire conversation. You become someone who brings clarity instead of confusion, connection instead of conflict. Listening deeply allows you to understand what the other person is really trying to say, not just the surface message, but the emotion, the worry, the frustration, or the fear behind their words. And once you understand that deeper layer, your response becomes smarter, calmer, and far more meaningful. Listening is also an act of emotional intelligence. When someone talks, they are revealing a small piece of their inner world. If you interrupt, dismiss, correct too quickly, or rush to defend yourself, you accidentally tell them that their inner world doesn't matter. But when you give them space, real space, to finish their thought, you communicate something very powerful. I care about what you're saying. I value your voice. People open themselves to those who listen. They trust those who don't rush. They respect those who pay attention with their full presence. This is why the greatest leaders on earth are also the best listeners. They don't speak first. They understand first. Listening gives you information, and information gives you power. Power to respond accurately. Power to avoid misunderstanding. Power to prevent unnecessary arguments. Power to guide the direction of the conversation instead of throwing fuel into the fire. Listening is not weakness. It is strategy. Deep listening also protects your relationships. Half of conflicts happen because people respond too fast. They misunderstand tone, intention, or meaning. They fill in the blanks with assumptions, and those assumptions turn into emotional reactions. But when you listen patiently, you remove assumptions. You get the full picture. You give the other person a chance to express themselves clearly. And when you respond with maturity, not with impulse. You begin to see things not only from your perspective, but from theirs too. This creates empathy. Empathy creates connection, and connection creates better communication. When you learn to listen before you respond, your words become more accurate, your reactions become more controlled, and your relationships become more peaceful. You become a person of emotional depth, someone who brings harmony instead of chaos. And the more you listen, the more people are willing to listen to you in return, because respect always circles back. Rule 5. Slow down your reaction. Respond with strategy, not emotion. Most people speak too quickly because they react emotionally instead of thinking strategically. They let their fear, anger, insecurity, ego, or frustration take control of their mouth. And when emotions control your mouth, your words become weapons. When emotions take over, you say things you don't really mean. You create conflicts you never wanted, and you damage relationships that matter to you. But when you learn to slow down your reaction, just for a moment, you take back control. You reclaim your power. You stop your emotions from hijacking your voice, and you give your mind the time it needs to think clearly. This simple pause is the difference between a stressful life and a peaceful one, between a chaotic conversation and a meaningful one, between weak communication and powerful communication. Slowing down your reaction doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means giving yourself a buffer, a tiny moment, to analyze the situation before speaking. When something triggers you, your brain wants to respond instantly. This is survival instinct, not logic. But that instinct often pushes you to respond aggressively, defensively, or impulsively. When you pause, even for 2 seconds, you interrupt that emotional pattern. You give your logical brain a chance to step forward. You give yourself a chance to choose your words instead of letting your emotions choose them for you. And when your words are chosen consciously, they become sharper, wiser, calmer, and far more effective. This pause also allows you to check your intentions. What do I really want to achieve by speaking right now? Do you want peace? Do you want clarity? Do you want to express yourself without hurting someone? Do you want to solve the problem instead of making it bigger? When you pause, you become aware of your purpose. And when you're aware of your purpose, your words become aligned with your goal, not your impulse. A strategic communicator doesn't speak for emotional release. They speak for meaningful impact. They choose the right tone, the right timing, and the right message because their brain, not their emotions, is driving the conversation. This is one of the most powerful skills a person can have. Slowing down your reaction also protects your reputation. People judge you not by your good moments, but by your emotional moments. If you panic, overreact, or explode, others remember that. But if you stay calm, even under pressure, people see you as strong, stable, intelligent, and wise. Calmness is leadership. Calmness is control. Calmness is influence. When you slow down before responding, you show the world that you are in charge of yourself, not controlled by emotion or ego. People trust calm communicators. They respect them, they listen to them, and they naturally follow their lead. Most importantly, slowing down your reaction gives you peace. You don't regret your words later. You don't replay conversations in your mind all night. You don't feel guilty for saying something hurtful. You don't create fights or misunderstandings. You speak with clarity, confidence, and emotional balance. Your voice becomes a tool for connection, not conflict, and every conversation becomes easier, calmer, and more meaningful. This simple habit, pausing before speaking, will change your communication, your relationships, your confidence, and your entire life. Rule 6. Train your mind to listen beyond words. Hear the meaning, not just the sound. Most people believe communication is about speaking clearly, But the truth is deeper. Powerful communication begins with powerful listening. If you only listen to the words someone says, you will miss the truth. Words are only the surface of communication. The real meaning lives underneath. When someone speaks, they are expressing emotions, needs, fears, desires, and hidden thoughts that they might not even fully understand themselves. If you want to speak better, you must first learn to listen better. You must learn to hear the intention behind the words, the emotion behind the tone, the story behind the silence. The person who listens deeply becomes the person who speaks wisely. When you train yourself to listen beyond the words, you gain access to a different level of communication. You notice the small pauses that show uncertainty. You sense the hesitation that reveals fear. You hear the shift in tone that shows frustration or sadness. You understand what the other person is really trying to say, even if they cannot express it perfectly. This gives you the power to respond with empathy instead of judgment, with clarity instead of confusion, with understanding instead of assumptions. And when people feel understood by you, everything changes. They trust you more, they open up to you more, and they communicate with you more honestly. Listening deeply also protects you from reacting too quickly. When you only hear the surface words, it's easy to misunderstand. You might think someone is attacking you when they are actually worried. You might think someone is arguing with you when they're simply stressed. You might think someone is rejecting you when they are actually unsure of themselves. But when you listen to the deeper meaning, you don't react with defensiveness. You respond with wisdom. You choose words that help the conversation, not hurt it. This makes you a calm communicator in a noisy world, someone who brings clarity instead of chaos. Another powerful part of deep listening is learning to observe the things people do not say. Silence speaks. Body language speaks. A pause, a sigh, a lowered voice. These often reveal more truth than words. When you pay attention to these signals, you gain insight that most people miss. You understand the emotional landscape of the conversation. And when you understand the emotional landscape, you can navigate the conversation with skill, grace, and emotional intelligence. You become the kind of communicator who responds to the person, not just the sentence. Deep listening also helps you choose the right timing to speak. Sometimes the best response is not a quick one. Sometimes someone simply needs space to finish their thought, to calm down, or to feel seen. When you listen deeply, you sense this. You wait. You allow them to fully express themselves before you speak. And when you finally respond, your words hit differently because they come from understanding, not impatience. People remember how you make them feel, and when they feel heard by you, your voice becomes more powerful, more respected, and more influential. In the end, listening beyond words is not just a communication skill, it is a mindset. It requires patience, empathy, emotional control, and sincere curiosity. It means caring enough to understand before speaking. It means valuing connection more than speed. It means choosing clarity over assumptions. And when you master this, your words become sharper, kinder, deeper, and far more meaningful. You speak better because you understand better. And once you speak from understanding, every conversation becomes a chance to build stronger relationships, solve problems peacefully, and express yourself with confidence and wisdom. Rule 7. Choose words that build, not break. Speak with purpose, precision, and power. There comes a moment in every conversation where your words become a weapon or a bridge. A moment where you have to choose between reacting emotionally or responding intelligently. This final rule is where your communication transforms from ordinary to extraordinary. Speak with intention, not impulse. Most people talk first and think later, and then spend hours regretting what they said. But a wise communicator flips the process. They think deeply before they open their mouth. They understand that words are not just sounds, they're actions, they're seeds, they're tools, they're weapons. They can cure or they can destroy. They can bring someone closer or push someone away. They can create opportunities or close doors permanently. That's why mastering your words means mastering your life. Speaking with intention is not about talking slowly or using big vocabulary. It's about speaking with purpose. It means every sentence you choose must reflect who you are, what you value, and what you want to create in the world. When you speak without thinking, your words come from emotion, ego, and reaction, and you often say things that don't represent your true self. But when you pause, breathe, process, and choose carefully, your words come from strength, clarity, and emotional intelligence. You become someone who communicates with calm confidence instead of chaotic energy. And here's something powerful. People judge your character based on your words long before they judge your actions. Someone may not know your history, your intentions, or your personality, but the moment you speak, they begin forming an impression. And they decide whether to trust you, whether to listen to you, whether to respect you, whether to give you opportunities. That means learning to speak with precision is not a small skill. It's a life-changing one. Your tone, your timing, your attitude, your choice of words, these things can shape your destiny. When you speak with intention, you stop using language that makes you small. I can't, I don't know, maybe someday. It's impossible. These phrases weaken your mind and weaken your confidence. Instead, intentional communicators choose words that strengthen them. I can figure this out. I'll try another way. I'm learning. This is challenging but not impossible. When your words change, your mindset changes. And when your mindset changes, your life changes. Speaking with intention also means eliminating unnecessary negativity. Many people don't realize they sabotage relationships with careless words. Sarcasm, insults, criticism, passive aggression, gossip. These things feel small in the moment, but they plant seeds that grow into distance, resentment, and distrust. Intentional speakers choose words that build connection, clarity, and respect. Even when correcting someone, they do it kindly. Even when disagreeing, they do it respectfully. Even when frustrated, they control their tone. Because they know that emotional reactions may win a moment, but thoughtful communication wins a lifetime. To master this rule, ask yourself 3 questions before speaking. 1. Is it true? 2. Is it necessary? 3. Will it help or harm? If your words fail this test, stay silent. If they pass, speak with confidence. This discipline alone separates powerful communicators from average ones. Another key to intentional communication is emotional neutrality. When you talk from anger, fear, irritation, or defensiveness, your words become sharp and careless. But when you talk from a calm mind, your message becomes clear and strong. People listen to calm voices because calmness signals control and intelligence. And here's the secret. The more you control your speech, the more you control your life. Because speaking well means thinking well, and thinking well means living well. Finally, speaking with intention transforms you into someone people naturally follow. Your words become steady, meaningful, and respected. People trust you because your language reflects maturity and self-control. You create deeper relationships, better opportunities, and stronger self-confidence. You don't speak to fill silence, you speak to bring value. And when you master this skill, your voice becomes an instrument of influence instead of confusion. This is the final step in mastering your communication, using your words to build a world you're proud of, one conversation at a time. So remember, my friend, your future is hidden inside the words you choose. Speak with anger, and your world becomes angry. Speak with fear, and your world becomes small. Speak with doubt, and your world becomes heavy. But speak with clarity, purpose, courage, and intention, and your world becomes powerful. Your voice becomes your strength. Your communication becomes your advantage. Your words become your weapon for success, not against others, but against your old self. If you want more episodes that transform your English and your mindset at the same time, make sure you subscribe to Fuel for English Life, because here, we don't just learn English. We build a stronger mind, a stronger voice, and a stronger you.